What is going on? Thursday, right? Thursday. Hope everyone's doing well. We're going to pick up right where we left off. Hopefully, we had a good discussion about what we read the day before. Just remember, Sawyer's getting a little bit more each time, a few more details might help him out, figure out where this shooting is going to happen. I think we might get a little fight today. I think if we get up to that part, pretty good time, I hope. Everybody likes a fight, don't they? So this is chapter 15 here. Lucky for me, no one notices me slipping in because my parents are too busy admiring the shiny new ball truck in the back parking lot. I dump my coat and backpack, throw on an apron, and go out back to join them in the cold. The giant meatballs are the same, but the lettering and logo on the side of the truck are fresh and bold. Top of the next column. Inside, it's pretty much brand new, customized to Dad's requests, with all new cooking equipment and fixtures and extra storage from what we're used to. It's actually pretty nice as food trucks go. Here's hoping it puts Dad in a better mood. I hear it's warming up this weekend, I say, trying to pretend I've been there all along. Can't wait to try it out. There's a food truck festival in the city. Heard about it on Twitter. Trey snorts and gives me a look. I grin and shrug, rubbing my arms to keep warm. My cast snags my sweater, not for the first time. Annoying, I frown and poke the yarn into the new hole with my pinky. I'm going to step inside. I'm going inside to see if Aunt Mary needs help, I say. Me too, Rowan says. We run in together. Is Dad pissed? I ask. No, he didn't say anything. Giant ball saved the day, Rowan says. We clear the snow from our boots. Sorry to put you guys in an awkward position again. Don't worry, Rowan says, hanging up her coat. She looks over her shoulder at me and fluffs her hair before she puts it back into her usual work ponytail. I'll get you back. Top of the next column. The first customers are arriving as we check in with Aunt Mary, and my mind strays to Sawyer and the new scenes. It's frustrating not being able to see the vision. I feel like I'm removed from it in a big way, like it isn't really happening because I can't see it. And this is just a puzzle I need to solve. Like 11 gunshots are just ricocheting in some movie I haven't been to. But it's real. It'll happen to real people and to their real families, whether we're there or not. It's kind of a horrendous tragedy. It's kind of horrendous tragedy that makes national headlines. And somehow in my mind, a guy with a gun that could go off in any direction and end lives in an instant seems so much more random and dangerous than a single snowplow hitting a single building. Like the snowplow is easier to control than one person's arm. Around 9, we have a lull, so Mom and I are starting to clean up in the kitchen. When I feel my phone vibrating under my apron, I grab the bags of trash and run them out to the dumpster. Hey, I say, I have about 10 seconds. Okay, something wasn't sitting right, so I went back to the library after I dropped you off. I watched the vision again, then rewound all the way and realized there's a single frame so quick, I missed it. It was just a little flash, top of the next column, right after the short scene with the grass and sidewalk. It took me forever to land on it just right, but finally I did. And there's a building. I suck in a breath, okay? It's an old building with ivy on it. I can only see part of it. I sketched it. I'll bring it tomorrow. Okay, gotta run. Good job. I slide the phone into my pocket again as Trey pulls up after finishing deliveries. I toss the trash in the dumpster. Not sure why dumpster is capitalized there. With my good arm and meet Trey on the way to the door. Slow night, he says. Nothing new come in? Nada. You get to help us clean up, I grin. Before we go inside, he pauses, his hand on the knob, and he turns to look at me. Is there something going on with you and Sawyer besides, the usual kiss stuff? I try to stop my eyes from darting around guiltily, but I've never been good at lying to Trey. Well, I'm not pregnant, if that's what you're wondering. Again. Be sure and tell Dad and everyone. He laughs. No, I wasn't thinking that. Sawyer just looks hot? No. Well, yeah, but... And she says, sexy, I guess. Whatever. Top of the next column. He sighs, stressed out. I just press my lips together in a grim smile and shrug. After a minute, Trey nods. Okay. He starts up the steps to the restaurant and turns. Well, if you ever need an ear, I can tell he's trying not to look hurt. Thanks, big brother, I say, and reach out to squeeze his arm. He messes up my hair. Dork, he says. He turns the handle and we go inside. At night, I lie in bed, staring at the ceiling and watching the blinking lights from the sign outside. I think about what schools might be composed of old-looking buildings with ivy on them. The last thought I have as I drift off, probably in the city. All right, chapter 16. Before we go there, just to be sure, and I'm sure you probably know this, but ivy, it's like a plant growing on the building. You probably knew that. And remember, they live like just outside of the city of Chicago, so maybe this takes place in the center of Chicago, the city. And if you know, and I know you know this, I'm pretty sure we've talked about it in class, but Chicago is like one of the murder capitals of the country. So it's a pretty good chance that if there is a school shooting, I mean, Chicago is a pretty good candidate. So that seems likely. Chapter 16. In the morning, I'm on the computer early, researching Chicago's oldest school buildings still in use. I scribble notes to myself. Lincoln Park, Old Chicago, survived the big fire, grass, bushy trees, private road, small stop sign. Not all of the older schools I can find have pictures online. And besides, our stinking slow connection, top of the next column, makes it impossibly hard for me to load anything. So I give up on that and start to list school names off in a different paper. Drive by Lincoln Park High School, Lakeview High School, Wendell Phillips Academy, Robert Lindbaum Math Science Academy. And then I add questions. 1, victims are presumably high school age. Presume, if you can presume, it means you can kind of guess. Presumably, not middle school, right? Can tell by clothes, dress size, maturity, boobs, facial hair. Note clothing of each victim for identifying before. Close-up of whiteboard. Forgot to tell you about zooming the pic to read the writing. 3, it's right about here that I realize these notes could be vastly misunderstood. Maybe even peg me as plotting a school shooting if they end up in the wrong hands, and they will. And I nearly choke at the thought. What a kick in the teeth. I debate ripping this up and swallowing it versus burning it, and then decide I'm being irrational and just fold it up and put it in my pocket. In the 5 seconds that remain before Rowan drags me out the door, I leave a note on the kitchen counter by the sink. Going to the library after school for tree research. Our lame internet connection is too slow. Can't get my homework done. Top of the next column. Tree research? Rowan asks as we 3 climb into the car. Yeah, it's for a project. Trey turns his head sharply to stare at me. I don't remember having to do any tree project in the 10th grade. He says. He looks back at the road, but I can feel an accusation in his posture. Accusation, it comes from accuse. You are, accusing somebody of doing something wrong or something sneaky. I shrug. Maybe it's new. My hands start to sweat. Look, he says, glancing in the rearview mirror. I know something's up. You're a terrible liar. And you're starting to piss me off. I sigh. Nothing's up. Not with me, okay? Sawyer needs my help on something. Tension strains the silence. It's not my thing to tell, I say. After a few quiet minutes, we're at school. Trey parks the car. We all climb out. Go ahead, Ro, he says. She rolls her eyes. You'd better include me this time if it's something exciting and dangerous. That's all I can say. She shrugs her backpack strap higher on her shoulder and walks towards the school. Trey comes around to the front of the car and stops me. A shock of his sleek, dark waves falling over one eye. After all I did for you and for him, I think I deserve to know what's going on. Or you can forget about me covering for you like this day after day. Okay? I'm done. He stares at me for a long moment, black eyes piercing into mine. Then he turns on the wet pavement, strides through the parking lot, leaving me standing there, looking at the rivulets of water migrating from the shrinking piles of crusty, dirty snow. Ooh, that could be a little foreshadowing right there, right? The school shooting is going to happen in the spring, like with the buds on the trees. Next page. Inside, Sawyer hands me a folded piece of paper, and I hand him one in return. We both open them and read them, standing together at my locker. I skim his long, detailed outline, my eyes growing wider as I read. When I get to the bottom, I look at him. Seriously? He nods, staring blankly at the paper I gave him, and then he looks at me. There's no way we can do this alone, he says in a low voice. I've been thinking about it. What about Trey? I ask. He nods again. I don't know who else to go to. His voice is hollow and his hand drops to his side like he's too tired to hold the paper any longer. No, this is good, I say. Really? He already knows something is up. I fold the notes he gave me into a tight square and put them safely in my pocket. I'll talk to him and see if we can figure out a time to meet so we can explain. Just then, Roxy and BFF Sarah come up behind Sawyer. Roxy slaps Sawyer on the butt. Whoa. I don't think you should do that to somebody else's boyfriend. Not so sure. BFF Roxy. BFF Sarah, Roxy. Got a fight coming up. Remember, Jules. She's only got one hand, though. And Sawyer, I mean, really, hey, gentlemen in the class, come on. You should really never, there's no reason to hit a girl, right? Gentlemen, no reason to hit a girl. Can't think of anyone. Unless you're a small guy and you have to protect yourself. But for the most part, so Sawyer really can't do anything. And then you got one hand against two if this turns into a fight. And it probably should. It should slap another girl's dude on the butt. I'm thinking. I mean, I know they're pretty good friends, or they were at one time, but nah, come on. All right. Just then, Roxy and BFF Sarah come up behind Sawyer. Roxy slaps Sawyer on the butt, and when he turns, Sarah grabs a paper from his hand. Oh, a love note. She laughs. Sawyer tries to grab it, but Sarah hands it off to Roxy. And because of my paranoia this morning, and because it's so stupid, rude anyway, I lunge for the paper, grasp Roxy's shirt collar with my good hand, and pull the paper from her with my other hand, leaving only a tiny bit of her fingers and, unfortunately, a large scratch on her neck from my fingernail. Excuse me. Ow, you blank. She shrieks, holding her neck like it's way more than just a flesh wound, and then she lunges back at me, going for my neck rather than the paper, which I managed to shove into my pocket. Remember, one-handed. People around us start shouting, and I can't see anything but Roxy's flaring nostrils in my face. I think frantically, top of the next column, about how this will all lead to nothing good, namely parents being called, and I sink to the floor. Dead weight, praying that somebody pulls her off me as she follows me to the floor, because I'm not going to fight back. In an instant, she digs her knee into my stomach and rakes her fake claws down my neck. I close my eyes and keep my flinching as invisible as possible, hoping she doesn't totally blank up my innards after they've been trying so hard to heal. Remember, she just got out of the hospital not too long ago. Instinctively, I bring my good arm up to her rib cage to try to lessen the weight she's putting on me, and she jabs her elbow into my biceps, leaving me a wicked Charlie horse. Stop, I hear, and I realize it's my hoarse voice yelling. The whole thing lasts about 5 seconds, maybe a few more than that, but it feels like an hour before her knee is off my gut. I'm not quite flat on the floor. My head is against the lockers and my neck is twisted. I open an eye, and Sawyer kneels down to see if I'm okay and help me up. And I look at Roxy, who is being held back by the guy whose locker is next to mine. We've never known that guy's name, right? But he did. He welcomed her back. Mr. Pacelli stands between us, his hand on Roxy's shoulder, his eyes on me. You okay? Sawyer asks. Top of the next column. I nod quickly and scramble to get to my feet, embarrassed. We're surrounded by students eager for a girl fight. Sorry to disappoint, I say to them. Catching my breath, I hold my cast in front of me and my good arm pressed against my stomach and make a pained face. Hey, I'm not stupid. So she's trying to act a little more hurt than she really is. My classroom, Mr. Pacelli barks at both of us just as the bell rings. Everybody else get out of here. Sawyer tries to come with me, but Mr. Pacelli gives him the hairy eyeball. I guess that means like, hey, don't even try the hairy eyeball. I'm not sure what that is. But I don't want to see a hairy eyeball. Yuck. Sawyer says how sorry he is with his eyes, and then he frowns and grabs his books, watching at least until we're out of sight and inside the psych classroom. Mr. Pacelli's papier-mâché bust of Ivan Pavlov stares at me. Roxanne, you start, Mr. Pacelli says. She attacked me. Cut my neck. Roxy says, I can feel it, see? Why'd she attack you? Because she's a paranoid freak, she says. She can't stand that I'm friends with her boyfriend. I did not attack you. You took. I begin, but Mr. Pacelli holds a hand up to me. Students start to come into the room, and they send curious looks in our direction. So she scratched you, and you scratched her back 4 times and pushed her to the ground? No, she fell. Roxy won't look at me, but her eyes are brimming, and I feel strangely sorry for her for the briefest moment. Mr. Pacelli turns to me. Julia, why'd you attack Roxanne? No, I was reaching for something, and I accidentally scratched her. I wasn't trying to do that. What were you reaching for? A note. Her friend Sarah pulled it from Sawyer Ignati's hand and gave it to her. They think it's a love note. It was something private I gave him, and she was just, I don't know, goofing around or whatever. And I reacted, trying to get it back. I paused, setting my jaw so I won't cry. I've never been in trouble like this before. I'm sorry I scratched you, Rox. I didn't mean to. I just wanted the paper back. My fingers go to my own neck, which throbs now, and I wonder how bad my scratches are. I can feel the raised welts. My biggest fear is that Mr. Pacelli asks to see the paper, but I'm prepared to say no. It's not like we got caught in class passing notes or something. School hadn't even started yet, but he doesn't ask for it, and I breathe a sigh of relief. Roxanne, Mr. Pacelli asked, do you have anything else to say? No. Doesn't look good for you, frankly, he says. He continues, still looking at Roxy. What I saw was you kneeling on a girl who has a broken arm and just had surgery last month. She's got 4 scratches, you got 1, and yours is not that bad. He fishes around in his drawer, and after a minute, he pulls out a rectangular glass mirror, handing it to Roxy. I don't think we want to take this to the principal, do we? God, no, please, I say. Roxy looks at her scratch. I agree. It's not that bad. Mr. Pacelli digs around a bit more in another drawer and hands her a small, square packet containing an antiseptic wipe. He gives me one too. Roxy sets the mirror on his desk out of my reach and glances at me. I avert my eyes and fold my arms as best I can with the cast. Fine, she says. Sorry. Mr. Pacelli looks at me, then picks up the mirror and hands it to me. You don't want to go any further with this? And that's probably, I think this is getting a bit long. The scene is a little bit long, so why don't we highlight that part? Check it out. Yeah, 18 and a half minutes. But hey, when you got a fight going on, you can't stop the fight. We gotta keep reading. All right, so I think that's enough for today. Luckily, I think it's a good thing if you're a little bit scared of your parents. I know there are some people on this team, I worry about them. Their parents really don't care when they get in trouble, like, whatever. So they can kind of do what they want. But trust me, the people who like you're still worried about your parents getting you in trouble, like you don't want to like, mess up too bad. You're better for it. I think you'll see some people whose parents don't care, like they'll eventually drop out of school and you're still on a good path. So that's a good thing. And that's most of you in here, right? That's most of you in here. A couple people like, where are your parents? Oh, that's too bad. That's sad. But anyways, the people who are still doing the right thing, keep it up. You don't want to go to the principal's office. You don't want your parents to find out. I feel bad for the people who don't have the parents that care. But all right, adios.